Freedom? It's a really difficult thing to talk about. It's difficult because it's like this gigantic tree with so many branches and fruits, and I'm not really quite sure what point I should start. If I was to ask, how do I forgive my father? That's a serious question. It's a question that if you pay close attention to the history behind the question, if you happen to be somewhat perceptive, why would this question come up at all? What is the need to ask this question? Why do you, as my daughter, want to forgive me as your father? Well, because it's a question that's been haunting you for the past 20 years. It has held you hostage. It has ruined your relationships. It has given birth to a good amount of anger over which you have no control, and it leaks out uncontrollably. The moment you are born with just being stupid and ignorant of a whole host of things. That in itself is a profound imprisonment. And we are engaged animals. You have no choice but to be engaged in life. And to be engaged means you make decisions, knowingly or not. And when you don't have the proper information, you engage, but you make a lot of mistakes. Those mistakes come back to haunt you. They create emotions. You won't like those emotions. You want freedom from those emotions. Not only are you held hostage by your physical body because you have limitations, you're held hostage by the emotions created by your physical body being engaged in the physical world. Your mom looks at you a certain way. Your mom cooks a certain food for you and you don't like it. You say, yuck. Now you say, I'm hungry, give me something. And your mom says no. And somehow you have to kind of figure out what the hell you want to do. You come to this class. It says philosophy. You thought it to be interesting. You experience it to be profoundly boring and uninteresting. But you have to be here for 16 weeks. You have a job. It inspired you because of the paycheck, maybe even having your own cubicle. But now it's boring. And you realize from the moment you're born to the time you die, you keep becoming engaged in this and that, and everything lives in time. Inspiration turns into boredom. Boredom turns into frustration, and somehow you want to find a way out. And even if you're like the Buddha, I mean, look, Aldous Huxley, this is a man who sought freedom. Freedom in thinking. And it's something that Karl Marx talked about, that if you really, really, really want freedom, it can only be found in imagination. If you truly want to experience freedom at its very core, find a moment when you're inspired. Sit and write. And for an hour, for 2 hours, maybe even for 10 minutes, and you realize you have written something that does not belong to space and time. And then you long, when that moment passes, you say, I want to write like this again. But you can't. The experience imprisons you because you want to copy it again, but it doesn't come to you organically. It came to you as a gift. It's stolen from you by the very source that gave it to you, and now you have to wait. Aldous Huxley was one of those folks who had these very, very many moments of inspiration where he experienced freedom. Then his wife got cancer, and he couldn't bear to see her go through so much pain. Then in his second marriage, he himself got really sick. I think he got cancer. And then he was in touch with someone from Canada who had first discovered certain types of drugs. Then he called them and said, listen, I'm going through this stuff. It's really, really painful. And even though you realize you have someone who is free from the sofas and tables and chairs of the world, he likes ideas and he plays with ideas and he sits most often and just writes. I mean, it's such a gift to be given to you by life that you don't care about going to school, you don't care about the judgments of other people, you're okay with just eating water and bread every single day. The only thing you want to do is just to write. That's all you want to do. And then you realize you are sick and your body is now imprisons your mind and it creates emotions you don't want to have. I'm very much like Freud. You say, I'll do coke, but just enough to numb the pain a little so I can continue with my work. دردی است غیر مردن کان را دوا نباشد پس من چگونه گویم که این درد را دوا کن. That the ultimate freedom for any human being really is death. Once you die, and Stoics to some extent were right. Epicurus, who was not a Stoic, I don't know if we have a soul, I don't know if there is a goal, and I don't know if there is punishment or reward after you die. All I know is that when I die, I no longer have to read essays by students. I no longer have to listen to my kids. I no longer be harassed by my wife. I no longer have to be worrying about rent or money or this or that. I will go into this non-feeling state for eternity. That's my freedom. As long as you're alive, and as long as you're quacking and breathing, there are forces out there that will push you into this system called prison. And somehow you have to manage. Even if you're free, but you yearn to find an answer to a question, that question imprisons you. It robs you of rest, of peace, of comfort, of having friends, of laughing, of having a good time. The yearning won't leave you alone. But it's not so much, I think, about freedom. It's choosing the prison you want to be in. Choose the prison. And the problem with you choosing the prison is you have to be profoundly insightful and knowledgeable and having a good amount of experience. There is this movie called Stigmata where this priest has to come to New York to figure out why this girl is having these wounds, these 5 wounds that Jesus suffered. And eventually they become good friends, they're sitting having coffee, and the woman looks at the priest and says, well, were you never interested in women or sex or this or that? He says, oh yes, I was, but I also wanted to be a priest. And I realized that both lives have their own set of issues, and I had to sit back and ask, okay, what sort of issues do I want to deal with for most of my life? Do I want to deal with the issues of a romantic relationship or issues that come with having a relationship with God? And I chose the God part. Once you have gone through a good amount of reflection, introspection, you say, okay, you know what? This may not be the best man or the best woman, but they are 50% good, 49% bad. And in this day and age, finding someone who's 51% good is really good. And despite all the flaws, I will be okay with that prison. And hopefully I will learn to accept and forgive. If I was to be a bit more candid, I would say the following. Every single one of you in this class have a different set of passions in life. I'm not here to teach you philosophy. I don't know what philosophy is. I know what I like. I know the sort of ideas I enjoy. And that's because the prison system I lived in, culturally Iran, I have parents who are somewhat religious. Then I ran into Hussein. And he gave me this humongous prison to be in. Lots of bedrooms, lots of houses and mansions in it. One day I read Plato, who believes in God. The next day I read Noam Chomsky, who doesn't give a shit about God. And both bedrooms are good, they're fun to be in. There's no conflict, I enjoy both of them. And my job here is to contaminate those who are somewhat interested. I want you to be interested in my kind of philosophy. And if you become interested, you will come to the office. I will infect you more. And I will force you to go to school. Not to study math, but to do philosophy. Why? I have power. What kind of power? When you do get your master's degree, I can get you part-time jobs. You will make $90 an hour. Just coming to class and just talking. That's a good prison to be in. You may be an incompetent instructor, but once in a while you will have moments of inspiration. Once in a while you will have students who are interested in the things you talk about. Once in a while you will have insights about your own potential. That's enough. And your best companions will be books and ideas. You can't find a better prison than that. Will you find guards in this prison who will torment you? Absolutely. Plato will make you feel that your life sucks. It's little. But it's a good feeling to have, because you'll strive to be bigger, to be better. مرغ باغ ملکوتم نیم از عالم خاک دو سه روزی قفسی ساختند از بدن. I have these moments of inspiration where I find myself in the Garden of Eden, paradise. I write poetry. I play tennis. I don't know how it happens. I engage in these great conversations where just ideas just flow really well. They don't come out of me, they just come through me. And then I take a philosophy class. And then my instructor looks at me and says, do you have any questions about René Descartes? So I don't care about Descartes, but I realize my instructor clips my wings, the wings of inspiration. I want to ask my instructor, tell me about philosophy, about wisdom, about love, about the path to wisdom, about the path to love. But all he wants to do is more body and mind. I don't care about those things, but I need a grade. So my wings get clipped, and all of a sudden I find myself in this cage, and I lose my voice, and I lose my creativity. That's how life is. While young, choose your prisons well. When you get older, sickness will have you. And you better have a companion when you're old and sick.